All right, so this is really the turning point review, which is what I should call my channel, but anyway. So the idea here is basically where and how did this occur, this turning point. So this is crude, as you can see, and what happened is the market just did a breakout right over here where it says BO. That means breakout. This is 40 tick, I think, Renko, and on the right hand side is a 10 tick Renko. So it's just like a higher time frame and a lower time frame. When you're using bricks, you could use a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio. So if your lower time frame is 10 tick, your high time frame can be like a 40 tick or a 50 tick. Just a hint on how to use Renko. Anyway, and that's similar to like a 5-minute versus an hourly, that type of thing, right? So you could use a 10 tick versus a 40 tick or 50 tick. All right. In any case, let's take a look at what happened here. So you had a market that rallied and broke down. When it broke down, first of all, it hasn't climaxed. It hasn't climaxed. I don't think it's exhausted. All we do notice is like the thrust shortened a bit, but nothing substantial. Market came down to this area, and I'm looking for a long because it's in an uptrend. So let's see if there were any tricks. Let's say right around there. So market puking. It goes to this level and breaks right through. Do you see any sign of a reversal here? And let me be very clear. Here is the breakout. You see this area where it says BO right there? So I'm looking at the test of a breakout and seeing what's going on, right? You have a breakout, market moves up. Let's take a look at the test. As it's testing, does it reverse? It doesn't. What does it do? On the lower time frame on the right hand side chart is it continues to go down. What does that mean? Breakout is not, the buyers are not there. The idea of breakout and a pullback to test the breakout is to see if the buyers are still there. If they're there, think about joining. If they're not there, you're not going to join. So instead, what happens is break down to the downside, where you see that 123 brick. That's a breakdown to the downside. So now the same logic is what? Is to see what happens on the test of the breakdown. So you just draw a resistance line. How do I know the resistance line, man? That's where the breakdown happened. Like, it's so obvious, right? If the breakdown happened there, that's where you're going to look. How do I know it's a breakdown? I mean, take a look at the volume increase. Take a look at the pivot that it broke. Obviously, 1229 is bigger than all the rest. It's like a big red bar, a big red volume. So, I mean, it's a breakdown. What do you want to do? Take a look at the test of the breakdown. And that's exactly what I'm going to hone in on and show how to sell the pullback. So it breaks down. I'm looking at the test of the breakdown. There are two places that, in my opinion, you got to look at. Why? Because these are two places where supply overtakes demand or demand overtakes supply. What are the two places? The two places are at the pivot and at the breakdown. At the pivot or the breakout, right? Those are the two places. Why? Because supply overpowered demand, and that's why you got a red bar. You got a reversal. You have a pivot. Why? Supply overtook demand. And the breakout. Why? Because supply overtakes demand on the breakout to the downside. Similarly, on the long side, the pivot and the breakout. Those are two places where demand overtakes supply. So the logic dictates is that one side is stronger than the other at those points, and those are the points you want to take a look at for entries. Why? Because one side clearly is stronger than the other side when it creates a pivot or it creates a breakout / breakdown. Those are the areas. It's not based on some fucking book, right? Or someone's opinion online. This is fact. Green, 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 red, 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 red. What happened? Green to red pivot. What happened? Supply overtook demand. Then at a level, it breaks through. That break was caused by supply overtaking demand at a support level. So this is the place to look where you have evidence that one side is stronger than the other. It is not based on any moving average. It is not based off of VWAP. It is not based off of imagination or Elliott's, whatever structure, or a projection of Fibonacci. So it's based off of evidence of supply and demand only, where one side takes over the other, and there are only two spots. Of course, other methods may work. It's up to you how you want to do it, but what I'm explaining is fact, in that supply overtook demand at two spots. One is the pivot, the second is the breakout to the downside. Demand takes over supply at two spots, the pivot and at a breakout, where one side takes over the other, meaning demand breaks through. So here you have this BO over here, which means supply overtook demand. So let's take a look at its test. Is there another spot to look at? Yes, higher up, right there where the 54 break is. Why? Supply overtook demand there. So chances are on a pullback, it's going to test either the breakout or all the way back where supply overtook demand. Why? These are the two places where the bears shows evidence of strength. In this case, we take a look at the breakout and we see what happened there. So market goes, where the hell is it? Right? So this is the reversal. You tell by the volume, all that pressure coming in, demand right here, confirmation of a minor uptrend. It goes to that level. From that level, you have supply. Now, these indications don't mean anything until you have clear evidence and confirmation and all of that. Here, why am I comfortable? Look at the damage they do. 9 bricks, biggest price down wave in 26 waves, with follow through doing what? Confirming. On this lower Renko, you even get a breakout. So now, take a look at that level, and your edge is there. If you're trading my style or David Weiss style, or what is it? Wyckoff. Actually, this is a Wyckoff style. Others are adaptations. Even mine is adaptation. But it's built off of 100% built off of Wyckoff. Anyway, where was I? Fuck. Okay, so here is the area to look at. Why it went there, supply came in, and there's the breakdown. No brainer, right? So we look at this area. It's either here or above, like slightly above. And the market, it goes to that area, but it doesn't test all the way. So sometimes that's what happens. It didn't test all the way, and you missed it, and it went down. So there's nothing you can do, right? Now look at this. Now that it rallied down, guess what? You're coming right back to the breakout, which is also the pivot area. and that is setting up another opportunity. Now, at the same time, you know, don't get married to an opinion. You have to consider the bulls. All right, understand the higher time frame is up, meaning the daily time frame. The daily time frame is up, so that's a bullish factor against your position. Second thing to note is, why the hell did all this volume come in? 1785 right there, and 1464. This is a breakout. It's a breakout in a downtrend, but you know, given the higher time frame is up, it could be very meaningful. So the bars that are against you, the evidence against you is on this brick right there, and on to some degree in the same area, 179 and what is the same area. So this brick is the one you got to be careful about, because if it reverses, there might be buyers here. In fact, there are buyers here. So the sellers have to fight with them. Anyway, let's take a look at what happens when the market comes all the way back to go in an area of supply, which is right here in the breakout, the Tesla breakout and the pivot, etc., etc. So now we look at the lower time frame brick size. Where the hell is it? And go all the way to the right, and what do you start seeing? Lo and behold, a pressure situation. But has it broken yet? It has not broken. You see? It hasn't broken these lows. So this is you can't, until this trend breaks, you can't even think about it. It's right at that level, right? And it very likely looks climactic. This is right here. This is very climactic. And it's going all the way down here. Let's see if it pulls back and breaks. If it pulls back and break, chances are it's going lower, because it broke the trend. It broke the uptrend. If it pulls back weak and goes lower, it's done. And what am I going to be looking at? First of all, look at the volume. The volume is telling me that this is a climactic move. Very likely this is a climactic move, but even climaxes sometimes just pause the uptrend before continuing higher instead of reversing the trend. Which situation is this? I believe I won't know until these lows are broken. Lows need to be broken. What do I see here? I see possible climax. I see selling, but that selling did not break a low. The other evidence is this 105 brick right here. This is very high. This is climactic right here, on a brick level, on a minor climax level, meaning within the wave. Look at all the volume that's there. 105 is the biggest in all the up bricks. It's the biggest in all the up bricks. All the up bricks, this is the biggest volume here. This has telltale signs of being climactic. The only problem is the characteristic of a climax is that A, it can reverse trend, or B, it can just pause the trend and for further continuation. So climaxes can do both. Like, you could have a climax that just exhausts, and then the market comes back into reaccumulation for continuation instead of turning the market. It happens all the time. So how do you know the difference? You know the difference that a climax is going to turn trend versus continue trend by first, if it is able to break lows, meaning break trend. So a climax, what follows the climax, needs to break trend, in my opinion. Otherwise it can you can just reaccumulate and continue going in the same direction. So, and you see a lot of that. Anyway, so keep your eye on crude. Take a look at whether it breaks the lows. whether it confirms, then the levels, very nice level right against this area here, right? And I wish I had some volume on these bricks. I can't tell. On the left hand side, on the higher time frame brick size, this is the brick to watch out for, because there could be buyers here. Trend is favorable. This brick, I have no clue if it's going to hold or not. What I do know is that the volume did accelerate up here, and that was a result of supply at these levels stepping in. The demand went from 26 to 66. Why did it do that? It does that because at this level there's sellers, and this is evidence that these sellers are stepping in. Anyway, we'll see what happens next, and that's all. Thank you. Bye. How do I stop?